In this last week of the Fundamentals course, we'll be taking a look at the areas of training and development. This functional area of HR might include, in addition to training, performance management, succession planning, employee engagement, and so forth. Training and development is critical to ensure that the people resources in our organizations grow in value. We want to make sure that employees increase their skills, knowledge, and abilities. Another concept we'll address, one that you might hear a lot about these days, is the concept of building a learning organization, or building a learning culture within your organization. In these types of companies, which are becoming a model in terms of training and development, learning is seen as intertwined with work, so it's really one and the same. It's viewed as part of the working for the organization. It's viewed as part of working for the organization. To begin, effective training does these 5 things. 1. It imparts a specific skill. 2. It's job-oriented. 3. It's offered to all employees. 4. It's a continuous, never-ending process. And 5. It's focused on the immediate period to help fix any current vital deficits in employee skills. Training refers to the methods used to give new or present employees the skills they need to perform their jobs. It's a planned effort by a company to facilitate employees' learning of job-related competencies. The goal of training, of course, is for employees to master those skills, knowledge, and behaviors that are emphasized in the programs. Then, most importantly, to apply them to their day-to-day job activities. And we're talking about this because, as you might already know, the responsibilities for training are generally assigned to the HR function. Managers need to be sure that productivity can be increased through training, and that productivity gains are possible with their existing resources, and they turn to HR for help with that need. Now let's look at the definition of development. Oftentimes, you'll hear the terms of training and development interchanged, but we'll look at the differences between the two. Development is any attempt to improve an employee's current or future performance by increasing his or her ability to perform through learning. This is usually accomplished by changing the employee's attitude or increasing his or her skills and knowledge, which, as was previously stated, is done through that training. Both the training and the development need is determined by the gap between the current performance and the required or needed performance in employees. Development typically also refers to the nature and direction of change induced in employees through training and education, and the increase in competency of staff and managers in light of their present requirements. As such, development is the long-term focus to help employees prepare for future work demands. So many organizations these days are in a constant frenetic state of upheaval, with reorganizations, mergers, trying to do more with less, etc. In this type of environment, managers naturally tend to be most focused on essential day-to-day operations and less on things like training and development, and it's understandable that there are only so many hours in the day and so many things to be concerned about. However, developing planning should be something a manager takes very seriously and takes a personal interest in. Managers and HR need to work together, as with so many other functions in the field, to develop these initiatives and to develop employees. This helps build employee loyalty, and loyal employees are more engaged, more productive employees. As a Harvard business study revealed, capable, ambitious young employees want training, mentoring, and coaching. They want to become more versatile and valuable to the organization. And, to be certain, if one company doesn't provide these things, these enterprising and energetic employees will go elsewhere to find it. And development planning doesn't have to be elaborate or costly. At its core, it's mostly a matter of good managers taking the time to understand their employees, recognize their skills and their needs, and guide them to fill in the gaps. If it's done well, the payoff can be substantial in terms of long-term loyalty. If it's not, the costs can be substantial in terms of loss of talent. So there's also a paradox here to consider if you think about it. Some people might think if they train a high-level employee, building their skills up to a certain point, that they're going to lose them to a potentially higher-paying competitor. But increasing an individual's employability outside the company simultaneously increases their job security and their desire to stay with the current employer. It cannot be emphasized enough that training and development also increase employee loyalty and engagement. Just like recruitment strategies or reward strategies, planned development programs will return values to the organization in terms of increased productivity, reduced costs, higher morale, improved cooperation, and increased adaptability to changing requirements. This graphic depicts the process of what might be called strategic performance development consulting. Again, HR needs to act as an internal consultant to the business. This shows how, as an HR consultant, you would approach training and development, gathering data for analysis, looking at requirements and desires from management, and determining what results should be achieved. As well, the analysis will include identifying organizational results versus actual employee performance. This will show HR the gap between what is desired and what's actually happening. Having that data in hand, the training and development professional will assess the needs and what action should be taken in to close that gap. Performance consulting is thus a process in which a trainer and the organizational client, which may be the manager, work together to determine what needs to be done to improve results. Performance consulting approach focuses on identifying and addressing root causes of performance problems. One method that is often used is documenting the actions and accomplishments of high performers and then comparing those with the actions of more typical performers. So training and development is no different than any other function in HR that we've covered, in that we need to start with an understanding of organizational strategy so that we're developing training and development activities that support that strategy. When HR approaches training from that strategic perspective, HR and training professionals are more likely to partner with operating managers to help solve problems and to make significant contributions to organizational results. If you do operate that way, you're less likely to chase fads or the latest type of training gimmick that's out there, and you're less likely to think that training alone can solve most employee or organizational performance problems. It's a tool, and working with the managers, you'll come up with a total solution. A good training plan answers important questions such as, is there really a need for the training? Who needs to be trained and who will do that training? How will knowledge be transferred to the job? And how will the training be evaluated? It's important to understand both the costs, as you'll see here, of providing those training and also the typical benefits that you might derive from that training. This is especially important when you're selling the concept to management to garner support, or if you're working to secure funding for training and development programs. As you can see, the costs contain items such as salaries, materials, and facilities, and of course lost productivity because there's going to be time that employees are off the job to attend training sessions. However, this is viewed as an opportunity cost that will yield returns. And the benefits, as you'll see on the right, are increased and more effective production, less turnover, less need for supervisory oversight of employees who were properly trained, the increase in ability and attitude changes. Some insights to support the value proposition of training and development include the competitive advantage that it brings. Training can help an organization to maintain and gain market share in a specific industry. A competitive advantage exists when an organization is able to provide a customer a better value than the competition. For example, the ability to produce products at a lower cost or of a better quality might create that competitive advantage, and those are things that can be enhanced through training. Lastly, some of the influences in the workplace that are impacting the need for training and development include globalization, a need for good leadership, increased value placed on knowledge, attracting and winning talent, a quality emphasis, changing demographics and diversity in the workforce, new technology or software, and high-performance model of work systems. In the next couple modules, we'll take a look in more detail at training and development techniques.